Hey guys, welcome back to the Science Kid, and today we're going to be reviewing the Dan&Darci Crystal Growing Kit.
Alright, time to get started. So the first thing we're going to do is add on some plastic to the table, or newspaper, whatever protective material of your choice, and we have all of our materials here to start the experiment. Now the first thing you want to do is check that your crystal growing cups are completely dry. That means not having any moisture, and if it does, just wipe it out with a towel, and it should be just about fine. Now, next we're going to take out a bag of our growing powder, and we're going to very carefully open it up with a pair of scissors, because if you don't, then the powder will spill almost everywhere. So now we have our 3 cups of water. Well, that was actually 2, but I ended up using not enough as before because evaporation is a thing. So you want to make sure you have an adult's help to start the fire and put on the pot. But you can pour in the water yourself as long as you're not splashing yourself with the water. And you want to let that water come to a boil. Once you have your boiling hot water, you're going to very carefully pour it into the cup, which should be able to take the heat. And you want to make sure you pour it up to exactly the 9-ounce line, because the crystal, as it is growing, uses the water inside to grow up, and it needs that amount of water. Now you want to take out the purple stirring utensil to slowly stir it up. But I didn't completely stir it up this time. I had some help doing the stirring at the same time as I was filming this. Now you're going to rinse and repeat this same process by taking out your 2 other cups, as they were a little tight, and you want to make sure that they're all dry, and if they're not, just use a towel. And so with this specific bag of this blue powder, it turned out to be way clumpier than the red one. As you can see in just about a second, it will plop out a huge mound of crystal dust. There we go. Now, this makes just, I'm assuming, a little bit of difference if it is really big clumps rather than a very fine powder. And just to test this, I took my clear powder and I crunched it up and I shook it up a little bit. I mean, I could tell that this one really wasn't as clumped up as the other ones, but it turned out to be a much finer dust than the other ones. And at the end product, the clear crystal turned out to be much bigger and had much sharper and pointier ridges. So it might have a little bit to do with the end process, but if it does or doesn't, make sure to let me know in the comments. So now I am finishing up the pouring process with my remaining liquid, because like I said the first time, it did not use enough water. And the blue one's just missing a little bit there. I almost forgot to do it, and just here we go. Just little bits at a time. Just almost there, and there we go. Now, this is a time lapse of me stirring up this blue liquid with the purple stirring utensil. Now, if you want to do something, use something else to stir it up, like you have a milk frother thing, I don't recommend using that. Because, this stuff can really stain just about anything, and it's also chemicals, so you want to make sure you're using the little stirring utensil that they give you inside of the kit. And also, once you take the purple stirring utensil out, you'll be able to tell that, after I was done with this one, it had a lot of almost blue ink on it. Now you want to make sure that you leave these liquids to rest until they are fully cooled before starting the next process, which is the crystal growing starter. Now, this crystal growing starter I would best describe as almost a smushed marble with some crushed up glass on top of it. And you want to make sure you're being very careful with this, because it is very delicate. And if you wipe off too much of the crystal dust, then the end product will not turn out to be as cool or not be as big. Now it tells you to take this smushed marble and to put it in the very center of the inside of the plastic cup. Now I did this by lowering the marble slowly but surely into there and just making sure it was in the exact center. And there's a little bit of a pedestal inside of it where you can put it inside, which makes it a little easier to do with the blue and red liquids because it's a bit murkier and it's a little harder to see what you're doing. Like with the blue one, I had a little bit of struggling there with putting it in, but after doing 2 of them, I was an absolute expert, and I just put it in basically on the first try. Now, that's all done, you can start the growing process. So, I put these out basically in a really safe place so that they could grow, and this is a 7-day time-lapse of where I took a picture just about every hour. Not every hour though, otherwise I'd have way more pictures, but you can see after every single picture, basically after every hour, the crystals were growing just little by little. But the one in the back left, the red crystal, started growing on the side because I didn't place it in the very center. So you want to make sure that you're getting the stuff absolutely in the center while it's growing. The time has ended and we have got ourselves some crystals. So you want to pour out the liquid that's in there because it is indeed a chemical and you don't really want to be touching too much of that. So you're going to be pouring that out very skillfully into a bowl that has some sort of covering on it that you make sure that you're not spilling it. Now after waiting at least 8 hours, you can pull the crystals out of the plastic cups. Now, as you can see there, I tried using my hand, but it broke really easily. It was really brittle. Now, this might be because I waited a little too long. I waited basically a whole day, maybe a little longer than that, 26 hours, before I ended up pulling the crystals out. So I got myself some tools. I got some tweezers and a really thin screwdriver, just to use some leverage to, push the crystal off the side. But you really don't need the tweezers. I mean, I used my hand to pull it out of there, but if you want to make sure you have all of your crystal intact, you can try using some other stuff and just tell me what you guys think of what the best method is, because, I mean, I just took a crack at it. And then you do the same thing with the blue one, and this one was more towards the center, and because of the little elevated pedestal inside of the plastic cup, it made it way easier to push the crystal out, which was very handy. So, good on them for doing that. Now, after having a little bit of practice on the ones I thought didn't look as good, I did it on the clear crystal, which I knew definitely was going to be way bigger, because it looks way nicer from inside of the cup. Now, I pushed it out really carefully this time, just did it really slow, and it just came out super easily. Like, I barely had to do anything. It was amazing. But it turned out to be super great. Now, I was a little confused when I did this because I had quite a bit of extra crystals on the side, but I mean, there's nothing you can really do about it. Now, for the most exciting part of the video, the end camera shot, which is you do this process by taking a plug and plugging it into the base. And also with this base, you need to make sure that it is plugged in the whole time because it doesn't have any batteries inside of it. It doesn't get charged. So you need to make sure it's plugged in the whole time. But in the very end product, you got a super overexposed camera shot. Oh yeah.
These crystals were really cool, and I had a really fun time building them. Now, if you want to hear more about crystals, I'll put more stuff down in the description so you guys can read up all on the crystals and get more information on how they're built, where they are, and all that sort of juicy stuff. So make sure to like the video and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.